Hey guys, welcome back to Kiwi Classics and Customs. We've got a fun little project today. We're upgrading the cooling system on this green 65 Mustang we've been working on for a while. It's time to get that done. Now, the story behind this conversion is that this is the radiator the customer supplied. It's like an eBay special. You see a lot of them on eBay. Not a bad little radiator, but it's stock sized. And this particular car's got a 302 in it, a later model out of a like early 80s something Ford 302. So it needs a little bit more cooling. So this is really, it's marginal. It probably would work, but don't really like marginal. I like to have plenty of cooling in reserve. So, but yeah, if you look at this, the top tanks, it's folded metal. It's a little bit cheaper construction. To me, it's just not as pretty as it could be. I'm not a fan of this folded metal square tanks. So what we did was went to my go-to radiator guys, which is cold case radiators. They make a great, kits for everything you can think of. Every muscle car, they specialise in muscle cars and other cars as well. But they do a great job. This particular radiator, if you take a look at the top tank, it is just so much prettier. You've got, the press, it's all pressed to one piece, no welds. Obviously where it welds on the top, it's welded. But yeah, you've got the ridges that mimic the factory look, but it's aluminum. So it's really nice. And it's also 3 inches wider. It's actually the radiator for a 67 or 8 Mustang. And Ford back in the day, 65, 66, they realized their cooling was really only just up to it. So they opened up the hole in the core support and they added 3 inches into the radiator, and that solved the problem. So the obvious choice is don't go back with a 65 one, go to a 67 or 8. Now you've got to cut and finesse a little bit, but it's really not that hard, and we're going to show you. That's kind of the next stage of this video. So yeah, the other little mistake that helped, made it an easy decision to make, to switch out, like ditch this radiator and go to this one. You'll see that inlets and outlets. This is the stock 289 setup. They both go on the passenger side. 302, they changed the water pump outlet and put it on the other side, so you've got offset inlet and outlets. So now this is the right configuration for the water pump, so we don't have to have long extended hoses and ugliness. So yeah, this kit also comes with the shroud, the fan. That's a 3000 CFM fan. Comes with a little box of all the relays, wiring harness, everything you need to do it. You get a nice big box and it's got everything in there, and you really don't have to find anything else. So let's show you how we put this in. Okay, so here we are. Now, one of the first things that gets in the way of this wider radiator is the edge of this battery box. Now, we've already buzzed through and trimmed that off. That is part of what holds it down. Normally we will go to a strap over the top to hold the battery down, so we can lose that edge, and that gives us that much more room, so we don't need that. Then this, you'll kind of get an idea, this is going to fit about there, like that. But you can see, looking at the front, there's now quite a bit of sheet metal hanging into the opening and covering the pores of the radiator. So what we're going to have to do is trim about 1.25 inches off of here. We'll do that in a second. We also cut these little pieces out of here. These were in here, like that. Because I'm not sure how well it will pick up on camera, but this sheet metal here kind of comes back at an angle and then straightens out. So we're going to cut these edges off where we got it marked with tape, and then fold this piece of the core support, just move it back about 10 degrees to make it flat, so it mates up with the radiator. And that will also sneak the radiator forward about 1/4 inch. Now, with the electric fan in place, you tend to get very close to the water pump, so that extra 1/4 inch really does help. So we've got the front of the motor. We've actually got the timing cover off this motor, so we've covered it all up with a bit of masking paper so we didn't get any sparks down there. And yeah, we're going to run down here, cut this off, flatten it out, and then it'll be a matter of drilling some holes, and that's almost going to be it. Obviously there's a bit of wiring and stuff to do, but let's get cutting. Got my handy dandy 3-jaw cutter. This is good, you know, no sparks, no mess, and it's pretty easy on the metalwork. So we're going to run down here. There. This side. So you can see straight away the hole's a lot bigger. So now it's really a matter of manhandling the surface and getting it to, I might actually use a rubber mallet to help ease that back. So yeah, this is now parallel straight across the front. Do the same treatment here. You should have the right size opening for this 67 radiator. It's going to go there. As you can see, that's fitting exactly where we need it. We're going to have to just mark out some holes to bolt it through, and the through bolts. And yeah, we've got the cores are completely exposed now. So yeah, that's worked out really nicely. So let's get some holes drilled in it and get it mocked up in place. Go from there. Back in a sec. And here we have it. Bolted in. We've got the holes drilled in the core support here and down lower. Put that in. We've got the shroud on there and the electric fan. That's really what the finished product's gonna look like for you. Pretty easy installation, really. You know, it's not quite as easy as a stock one, but for the amount of work involved, like, yeah, I really personally don't see a lot of reason to put a 65/6 radiator in if you're replacing it. You may as well just, you know, get that extra 3 inches of radiator area, and you know, you've got room for a bigger fan. Then it all just makes sense. Put a 67 or 8 radiator in, you really must do. And that's it. Next we got to do, we've got to get the timing cover back on this engine. We've got a March front drive serpentine belt system to go on it, so we're going to do that, and then it's on to the vintage air AC. So we might bring you a video on the AC install. It's a fairly long involved process, so we'll probably have to break that one up. But yeah, there you have it. It's a nice easy conversion, guaranteed to keep your engine a bit cooler, and away you go. Alright, see you on the next one, guys.